actually crashed before a couple of times. Like when the bandwidth is low, it just keeps spinning. And I think I might have reported that to you. So anyway, it's a small thing. Otherwise working perfectly fine. So welcome everybody to Brainfood Live on Air, bringing it to you every Friday, no fail. It's episode 310 today. And it's going to be a fantastic show, mainly because Louise Triance is in it. How are you doing,
I wish.
Louise?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm great. I'm not sure I will make it fantastic, but I do agree it's going to be a fantastic show. You've got some great guests.
And it is interesting, isn't it? I wanted to compare how sort of different types of recruiter are using artificial intelligence and AI and sort of automation. It occurred to me, actually, we have to use it differently. For instance, if you're an RPO, and what do? Do you bring your own AI into your customer? Is that data governance okay, or do you use their AI? What's going on? So I think lots of really interesting things to discuss about how different types of recruiter use artificial intelligence. So very excited to have this conversation with you today. Okay, let's do some sound checks first of all. I want to make sure everyone can hear me and Louise okay. Folks, if you can hear me on sort of Crowdcast, you're watching this on Crowdcast, let me know in the chat whether the audio is fine. Jim, thank you very much. Good chatting with you earlier, by the way, Jim. Thanks for the call. We should be blasting this out on a number of LinkedIns. I think a bunch of people are also live streaming this for us. So if you're watching this on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn, someone else's LinkedIn, let me know in the comments whether the audio and visual is fine. I think we should be good to go. Yes. It's all fine. Fantastic stuff. Okay, let's crack through. Actually, Louise, for the folks who don't know you, I dare say there won't be many people watching the show that would where that would be an accurate. It would be described this way. But for the folks who don't know, would you like to introduce yourself? Like, who are you? What it is you do?
Everyone doesn't know me. Loads of people assume that everyone knows me, and they don't. I have been around for quite a long time. So I run UK Recruiter, which makes it relevant to this topic. So that's mostly recruitment agencies, some staffing firms, and in-house. I also run a job board conference. Love job boards. I also do the speakers for the Recruitment Agency Expo. And I think all of our panelists today might have spoken at an expo in the past. I also work for Crowdcast, which is why it makes me anxious if something goes wrong. And I think I do something else as well, but who knows what. I also get involved in RecFest. I like to host a stage like you at RecFest.
You actually I've just realized you're an archetypal example of a portfolio career. So you've got lots of different things that you do for lots of different people. And I think that's it's an interesting sort of topic of debate itself. I'd be maybe something that we should explore in future, because I think we're going to all head towards that route, aren't we, in the end? So
yeah.
Excellent stuff. I've just shared Louise's link in the chat stream. By the way, do connect with Louise. Reason why, for all of those reasons. Like if you want to get on stage, you want to learn a bit more about agency recruitment, you want to get involved in the community a little bit more, Louise is your gateway in. So do connect and reach out. Okay, folks, we have to thank our sponsors, of course. Without our sponsors, Brainfood Live cannot continue. Every week we have a sponsor stepping up and saying we want to continue these conversations. So I need to thank a really interesting company, actually, first-time sponsor. So big round of applause for this particular business. It's called Hire Inc. And it's totally in alignment with what we're doing here today. It's all about automation. It's all about making sure recruiters are most efficient. But hey, why do I don't need to say too much about this, because we have the founder of the business in the chat. I want to bring him on and he can tell us all about it. So John, I've just invited you on screen. You just got to accept that, and then hopefully we'll be able to hear from you and understand a little bit more about your business. Cool. So whilst John's coming on, Louise, just a quick précis with regards to. Oh, here's John. Anyway, let's do the précis a bit later. John, I think you're still on mute. Oh no, you're not. You're fine. We can hear you fine.
No, we can hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. This is really fun.
No, really great to see you, John. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do? You're also a portfolio guy, aren't you? You do multiple things. So let's hear it.
Yeah. So just for some background, I was originally an AI researcher at Microsoft. Actually, very weird start for recruitment. But did that for a year, and then left, started a recruitment agency, a technical staffing agency, and ran that for 8 years. And through that process, we grew from like one person, and now we're 50 people, and grew to be quite large. And we focus on really engineering talent from developing countries around the world. So that's been really fun. But the last couple years, we've tried to figure out ways that we use AI internally, and then package that as a tool that other agencies, other teams can use and leverage. I like to think that we were doing a lot of AI stuff before it was cool, like back in 2017, 2018, back when things probably weren't working super well. We were still trying to figure out ways to use these things. And we've been really focused on testing every way that that these new technologies can be used within the context of recruiting. We're very opinionated around like things that work and things that definitely don't work. Just because you can use it for recruiting doesn't mean that it necessarily will apply well or be good for your employer brand, or these things. So we again try to focus very much on the right ways to package these things in. And we have a product called Hire Inc., which I'm happy to kind of give a little brief on. But 1 second, I'll share my screen.
Fascinating career path, by the way, John. Not many sort of technical people end up doing the recruiting side. So fantastic to see that happen. I think that's great for our industry that we have different types of entry points and career paths into this world. So, and obviously it's resolved itself into, going back full circle, I guess, with a platform that helps recruiters.
Yeah. So yeah, again, like we like to think of ourselves, we are recruiters, and we've actually built this and we use this internally for our company, and we wanted to again bring it out to other teams, again using kind of what we think is the right way, like to use AI, and cutting out pieces that we don't think work as well. And so just for starters, this is a full ATS platform. So the way the platform works, is probably very familiar to you, where you have your jobs. You can set up like email sequences. You can cross-list jobs across different job boards. We have a LinkedIn Chrome extension, so you can pull in candidates that way. We have interview transcriptions. So basically all of your interviews will have their recordings and notes in one place. So that's been really nice. You can set up automations, go through tasks. So if you have specific tasks for your team or scorecards, you can have those filled out and assigned and sent over to different team members. So it is a very fully featured ATS, in the way that you'd expect a traditional ATS to be, without all the AI stuff, right? And that's kind of what we're very proud of. And again, we use this. We've had to build a whole ATS so that our team is able to use this in their normal workflows. The one other element to this, though, is that we always try to find ways to integrate new AI features into our tool. So you might have seen a lot of kind of AI transcription that's actually built right into our tool. And so you can go through every single call is recorded. You have those calls transcribed. You get all your interview notes and transcriptions in one place. And they're saved to the candidate card. So if you go back and search for a candidate, you can see all of their interviews you've ever done with the candidate. You can search through things very easily. And then you can get reports that include things like the interviews with the rest of your flow. Something that we're testing and we wanted to showcase here is our AI sourcing agents. We call it Auto Scout, which we're really excited about, and it's a fun tool to share. The way this works is we actually built out internally what we call these recruiter agents. So you can search for any specific role, right? And what the AI will do is it will come back to you and break down the role in detail, as to how it find. Let me try to find some candidates here. So the way this works is you can actually break down a specific role, and then the AI will go out and source the internet for you to bring those candidates back. And then when you're in this Auto Scout, all you have to do is press Enable Auto Scout, and you'll get back those candidates into your feed, and you can just shortlist them and add them to your pipeline. And so this has been a really fun way that some of our customers have been able to bring in candidates for their roles, as one additional kind of sourcing mechanism. We have hundreds of millions of candidates that it sources from. And when you actually run this auto scout, we actually have human sourcers, like real people, go through and manually sift through to make sure that they're correct. So the candidates you get back have some layer of filtration, so that way you know that they're somewhat applicable to the role, and that if there's anything really hard to find, our real sources will go through and try to source them better and find them for you in other ways. So this is an add-on, and it's included in our main tool. And our tool starts at $100 a month. You can actually sign up for free if you're here today on the podcast, and you can play around with it. And the $100 a month tier includes 5 seats with everything in the ATS. So that includes interview notes and your job boards, and publishing across different external job boards, as well as all the other AI features that we mentioned, and the sourcing agents that we're currently testing. And so that's just something we're playing around with. And again, I'd love to get feedback from you guys if you guys do try, and feel free to message out if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, John. Really good to see you run through. And, what a wonderful sort of, I guess, level of progression we're seeing with technology. I mean, Louise and I hope Louise doesn't mind me saying that we've been around sort of a long time in the industry. And sort of way back when ATSs first emerged, they were really just record-keeping devices that had no capability of actually helping you recruit. Actually, they were an impediment in many cases because you had to update the thing. So it's actually additional admin. But here it looks like we're really getting some fantastic use out of it. However, there are questions coming in. And if you do have questions for John, do pop them into the chat. He is obviously going to be with us for the rest of the show, and I'm sure he'll be able to interact with you either in the chat or offline if you prefer. So, John, thank you so much for sharing us that know-how. Fantastic stuff. I'm sure a lot of people will sign up and give it a shot. The link, by the way, is hire.inc. Check it out and let us know what you think. John, great to see you here. Let's take you off screen. We're going to bring you back later on if you want to join the chat with the rest of the panel. So thank you so much for introducing the product to us.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Interesting how fast technology is developing, isn't it, Lou?
Yeah, totally. And it is interesting some of it's not that fast, but some of it is. And to see a tool which is using AI and also human interaction, because one of my questions for the panel later is where the human fits in. So we'll come to that later.
I was looking at John's tool. I think that could be like a software and service. Like you could possibly pay an agency fee on top of using it if you wanted the white glove solution. So let's say the AI brings back 100 candidates for me. Fantastic. I don't actually want to speak to them, but maybe Hire can stick someone in there and I'll pay a little bit more. So lots to think about. Lou, I'm looking at the time. It looks like we're flying through this, so we might have to just skip the newsletter review and just get our panelists on screen.
Absolutely fine with that. What I would like to say is I actually prepared for that this time, because there have been some shows where I was like, balls, I haven't. But I'm going to share the one I liked. While you bring them on screen, let me share them in the chat, because the one I found, which was the one that Claire Bush had shared, which had nothing to do with AI at all. So I'm going to put that in the chat.
Yes.
I liked all your articles, but while you invited them on, I liked this one. And I thought that it highlighted how there's lots of things it highlighted, but probably one of them was that HR recruiting professionals are properly trained in hiring, and individual line managers are not.
Yeah, so that reflects really importantly on the hiring manager self-serve type angle, because we're probably seeing a lot of that in the sense that people are, what do you call it? Let's see if I can bring some folks on. Basically, there's a sense that hiring managers might actually do a little bit more of the work, which, ostensibly sounds good, but potentially this means different things. Okay, I've got a Rob here. Rob, I hope that's Rob White. I'm going to add you in. If it isn't Rob White, it's all fine. Just come in anyway.
It's a Rob with an opinion. So we've got James. Now, last time James joined, he was in a nightclub. Do you remember that?
It doesn't surprise me. with James, he's always dressed as if he is in a nightclub. So I love his preparedness. He's always dressed as if he's ready to be in a nightclub.
So there's James and there's Ray as well, yeah?
Oh, yeah, Neil. Sorry.
Neil Ray. Sorry, not Ray. Rob, are you the right Rob?
He is the right Rob. He is the correct Rob.
Hello,
And Neil
can you hear
Ray's
me?
here as well.
Yeah,
we can hear you fine,
you.
Rob. And we see Angela in the crowd as well. I might get Angela on a little bit later. Okay, Rob, whilst you're here, can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, perfect. So Rob, based in London, 20 years plus in recruitment agencies. I was with Venn Group for the first part of my career, fast growth brand. Then I joined Page Executive, part of the Page Group in their search business. And then I started Readymere with some help from some nice investors in 2018. And that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years or so. And we typically work with founders and earlier stage companies who are scaling, have raised money, or looking to hire that next level of management or senior individual contributors to help them grow.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. Great to see you here, Rob. I'm going to share Rob's link into the chat stream in a minute, so make sure you connect with him. Neil, great to see you. Can you quickly introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do? Oh, he's possibly on mute.
No, we can't hear you. If you go to the AV module in the bottom right, make sure it's picking up correctly. Hello, James.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're not in a nightclub then, no?
I feel like I've really let you down by the fact I'm not in a nightclub. I'm not even dressed appropriately. It's terrible. So thank you for putting my reputation on the line there.
Still looking dazzling, though, James. Okay, Neil, are you with us?
I've set the mic now. Yeah, the tech guy. Can you hear me?
Perfect. We can hear you fine. Great stuff. Neil, why don't you introduce yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yeah, good to see you guys, by the way. James, Rob, nice to see you. Louise, always great to see you. And Hung, thanks for having me, mate. So Neil Ray, founder of peopleflow.ai. So we've recently rebranded. I've been in recruitment as long as I can remember. I think it's coming on 20 years now, coming in from a software engineering background. So I'm one of the ones who's taken a bit of a funny path into the industry.
Yeah, fantastic stuff, Neil. And I would love to hear your journey as a founder on this as well, because I think you were one of the very first to pioneer with some of these tools. So I'd love to hear how you get on with this. And James, quickly introduce yourself. Who are you? What it is you do?
Yep, been in the recruitment sector most of my life. Act as a non-exec director and advisor and a shareholder on a few different recruitment company boards. And co-founder and chairman of the Recruitment Network, which is a large global community of recruitment business leaders, advisors, and mentors. And we all hang out together, help each other maximize performance, productivity, and profitability. There we go.
Yeah, fantastic to see you here as well. Ivan, I'm going to bring you on in a sec. Don't worry, okay? Angela, I might bring you on as well in a bit. Okay, let's set the scene. Agency use of AI. Part of the reason why I was particularly interested in this is because I'm no longer a recruitment agent, and hence I'm distant from it. So I would not know how recruitment agencies currently are using sort of technology beyond the basics. And I think there's a big spectrum, right? So we're not saying, this is good, this is bad, but I'm interested to know, what people are finding when they're trying to adopt artificial intelligence. I think we're all kind of know the opportunities there, but there's reasons why it hasn't happened immediately. What are those reasons? So Rob, let's go to you firstly on this. You're running sort of almost a classic recruitment agency in the UK, right? It's like I think this is the dominant type of recruitment agency that we have here, which is a small team of senior professionals step away, and they deliver kind of elite services. I think, let's say there's something like 30,000 recruitment agencies in the UK. I think probably at least 10,000 of them are probably similar to you, Rob, in that sense, right? Experienced recruiters doing their own thing. Tell us about your experience with sort of this wave of AI. Like, where have you got to with it? How do you feel when you're using it? Is it helping? Is it not? What's going on?
Yeah, so just thinking about AI, I mean, we use MetaView at the moment, the classic sort of note-taking tool, and the report writing function is really helpful. And I think, we first started looking at that tool maybe 18 months ago, 2 years. And when it was branded as AI, I think 2 years ago, nobody really gave much credence to that, and it didn't really actually mean much to people. But now they're obviously ahead of the curve in terms of their branding and how people use the tool. We're not using tons of AI yet, but we're certainly exploring it, and we're looking at different solutions and different things that are suitable for us as a business. One in particular that I think has got a lot of legs is Bloom. I put a post on about it recently. And what I really like about the tools that I've seen, and the ones perhaps that I don't like so much, is thinking about what do really great recruiters do and which part of their jobs are repetitive or boring or things that they don't enjoy doing. Because the promise of AI really is to free us up as humans to do the things that we're uniquely good at or the things that we really enjoy as human beings. So, I look at it as, right, what do the best recruiters do? We want to keep doing that. Which AI tools can we find or can we deploy that will enable us to spend more time doing the things that are uniquely human? So that's how we're sort of approaching it at the moment.
Yeah, really good thoughts on that, Rob. James, to go to you, you've got a different view, obviously, because you're sitting on loads of boards and what have you, and you're also running the TRN, which is, is a very significant community of recruitment agencies. Where are you seeing like the general sort of level that we're at right now? Are we still, is Rob's description fairly normal, like fairly sort of a median in terms of where agencies are?
Yeah, I think Rob's absolutely spot on. This is such a fascinating time for the recruitment agency sector, the sort of world of recruitment agencies. We're transforming at a rapid rate. A lot of people are trying to understand where we're at and what we're doing. You talked about the basics, like our recruiters doing the basics. There's a whole load of new basics now that exist with AI, that automation and AI can do. There's a big learning curve for recruiters that they're going through about the difference between automation and AI and then agentic AI. And these are all different things. And a lot of people are confusing all that together and don't quite know the difference and therefore dabbling with stuff that they shouldn't be dabbling with. I think personally, we're going through one of the most exciting times as an industry that we've ever been through. I think we're going through a productivity revolution, is how we're sort of describing it. So we're in a situation where we've got recruiters who are 10 times more productive than they've ever been before. If they are spending more time doing more of the human stuff that Rob describes, then I think that enables us to be significantly better as an industry, as much as actually from a performance point of view. So it's a huge, huge learning curve. And I would say on that learning curve, you've got recruiters who are way, way behind on this and have literally got no idea what is going on right now. And it's literally like rabbits in headlights. And you've got some people who are literally going, this is our moment to significantly take market share and significantly change the way that we work as a business. And I think that's the right attitude to take right now. But you've got to navigate it. These sessions like this that you're doing, Hung, all the stuff that you guys and Louise does. Hello, by the way, I didn't say hello to you. The stuff that you guys do is absolutely brilliant because it's basically helping people just circumnavigate what the hell all this is about, because it's very confusing for a lot of people and it shouldn't be. And if it's confusing, kind of get left behind.
Yeah, and I think it's important we don't shame anybody either.
No.
I struggle with AI. I look at my own sort of level of usage as a personal user, and I consider myself no more than level 1. So level 1 is someone who uses ChatGPT now and again, and that's me. There's nothing automated I'm doing. So I'm thinking, what's stopping me from really going forward? And I think it's the switching cost, right? It's like expensive to switch your process. If you've already got a process, I'm already pretty much maxed out. Anything that moves off from that, I've got to take a temporary kind of inefficiency in order to get through it. So that's what I'm struggling with. So go on.
I was just going to say, coming on, the ones that I've looked at and I've demoed probably a dozen this year, the ones that are going to stick are the ones that don't change too much in terms of workflow or your work process and don't create an extra layer of work for you to do. And I think that's the risk with a lot of AI, that they're trying to replace what you do, where actually they should be acting as the tool to enable you to go faster, to do more things that you enjoy. So if there's significant workflow change or significant interruption to your normal workflow, it's not going to stick. So that's how I've approached it. Is this going to interrupt my workflow? Is it going to change the way I go about things at the moment? And is it actually significantly going to speed up or improve what I'm doing? If it doesn't answer those things, then it's not right for us at the moment.
Yeah, that's massive, Hung, because if you look at it from a point of we've got the market's gone through a tough couple of years, right? It hasn't been an easy couple of years. So suddenly start rewriting the rule book. It's just not something that's on many people's agendas right now. So rather than looking at rebuilding and redesigning brand new workflows, what we need to be doing is just looking at elements of the workflows, to Rob's point, the stuff that's repetitive, boring, dull, we're rubbish at, whatever. And let's just find ways to get rid of those bits. And that way you start to get a play and a taste of what it's like to use AI. I say this to everybody. People say to me all the time, what's the best tool to get, James? What should I have in my toolkit? And I said, before you buy anything, just understand what is it you're trying to do with AI within your business, and then go and see if you can create it yourself using ChatGPT and make.com or something like that. Because by doing that, you can actually recreate half of these things that are being floated around the place as these new workflow processes that you just don't need to do. So for me, I think you're absolutely right. If Rob's right, if we start changing people's workflows right now, that is a significant adjustment. I don't think many businesses are ready to do that right now. What we need to be doing is going, actually, where in my business is there wastage? Let's get rid of that wastage quickly and allow my recruiters to get out and do more of the really, really good stuff that makes the big impact in the industry.
I've got a follow-up question to that, but maybe we'll hear from Neil first, and then I'll ask that because Neil might have some input on it.
Yeah, no, I was going to sort of add to what Rob was saying, because I think with these processes and workflows, I think it's really important to understand. I mean, anyone who's been in recruitment will understand that everybody is doing it in a different way, right? There's no one way to do recruitment, and everyone's got the little nuances of different processes and different. And even if you are following the same protocol or same training in a company, you still do it in a different way. And I just think it's really important that with technology and AI, that to understand that there is no such thing at the moment really as actual artificial intelligence. What it is super fast processing of specific types of rules and algorithms. That they are rules, they're layers that have been programmed to behave in a certain way. And I don't know if I probably shouldn't swear, but if you put rubbish in, you're going to get rubbish out, right? So it's going to speed up anything that you're already kind of feeding into it. And I think that's the part that I wanted to highlight as well. So I think what it is an opportunity for people to look at how they're doing things and those processes, figure out what they're doing and why it's working well, so that they can sort of ramp them up and accelerate them really fast, and even just come away from doing them at all in certain cases, so they can focus on things that require the human touch. But then if the things that aren't working, don't feed those into the AI, because it's just going to produce the same output, right? You're going to get inefficiencies or exaggerated inefficiencies.
I'd like to ask that question in the chat in a minute, but my question was going to be to all of you, but James, I guess more because you work with so many different recruiters with different CRMs. If we're thinking how we fit this into our process and our workflow, isn't the CRM part of that? And aren't the recruitment agencies being supported by the CRMs that they are using? Because what Rob was saying was we're not using AI as much as we could. Why is your CRM not supporting that?
Well, I think the CRMs are, and I think it's a really valid point, Louise, because I think a lot of people are going in trying to buy stuff and bolt stuff into their ecosystem, where actually you've invested a lot of money and time and effort into your CRM. I always go for the CRM first strategy. So I think a lot of recruitment businesses need to be squeezing their CRMs to get more out of them. But your strategy should really start with the CRM, because that's the fun. You change your CRM every 5 years, every 6 years potentially, that type of stuff. So everything's in there. You create habits off the back of it. You create workflows and ways of working out of it. So get your CRM providers to be creating the workflows for you, the automations and the AI for you. That's why some of these people are on the call today, because that's where you're going to be. That's your sort of one central point of truth. We often talk about that as a sort of as a strategy piece. But if you end up going, I've got a CRM over here that does a bit of the stuff, but I'm bolting on this, I'm sticking in that, I'm going to create that to do these AI workflow bits, you're then ending up with this completely disparate workflow system that will never, ever be scalable.
So, Rob, go
sorry.
on, no, go on, Neil.
I was just going to say, I think the challenge that you've got with being a CRM company, or any for that matter, and also the larger you get, the more compounded this becomes. It's when you want to make a change in your system, you have to go through quite a lot of sort of processes internally, testing and all the rest of it. The technology is moving at such a rate that by the time it gets into the top of the funnel and gets down the other side, and then you can release it, it's just obsolete almost. I mean, I when in my talk 2 years ago at the Rec Expo, I was talking about 6 months. I feel like since then it's become even shorter. The life cycle of which we're adopting, and things are becoming older and being overutilized, and you have to change to something else. So I think that is a really big challenge. And I think if you're going to pick a CRM, go with one that is sort of nimble and allows for as much customization as possible on your side, so that you can keep up with the market rather than having to wait for them to sort of change everything in-house, run through the QA process, etc.
Let me say a real quick thing. I think the speed of innovation that's happening externally, that it may actually be stopping some adoption, because we're all looking at it from the outside in thinking, right, I was about to dive in there, and then suddenly something else has come in that looks amazing, even better. Do I have to just hold fire a little bit? And then that obviously keeps on going. So I wonder whether that's part of the problem. Like the vendor innovation, which is great, by the way, but it's a blizzard and we can't keep control of it. And we've got no way to pass it down.
Yeah, well, that's what Lisa Jones always used to talk about, was these shiny things which distract us. And she's very focused around training around 2 particular CRMs and saying, use what you've got with those tools. My question to you, Rob, was, does the Bloom tool that you mentioned, is that kind of data analytics?
No, well, yeah, I guess you could probably put it under there. But what I loved about Bloom is I'm not actually getting anything from them for promoting them like this. I should have maybe done that. But the guy who set it up with the CTO, ex-recruiter, he looked at the workflow of what a recruiter does and has put it into a platform that just logically makes sense. So you upload a job description, it analyzes it, it will give you market trends in terms of salaries, movements, it will write the social post for you, it'll anonymize the job ad for you, it will write the in-mails for you, and it's all there clickable that you can send and copy and paste and really easily do. And how I looked at it was, I've trained probably hundreds of recruiters, especially when I was at Venn from graduate level. And that's what we used to do. We used to give them a job spec and say, right, you've got an hour to go away and research that and tell me what you know about competitors, the trends, and, get their head into understanding that job and understanding that market. This does it in seconds. And I know there's a lot of fear about sort of, people entering the market and what we're going to do with them in terms of if technology replaces that sort of learning curve. But yeah, the good thing about that tool is it just does everything that I would have had to have done manually or perhaps asked somebody else to do, and it's done straight away, literally in 2 or 3 seconds. So it's, what you were saying, Neil, it's ultra fast processing of information that I need quickly. And that whole thing, search engines versus find engines, that's a term I've heard a lot, how ChatGPT works now. This is perfect for me in terms of upload a job and I've got all my sort of background information I need, as in a matter of seconds. So that's how I've looked at it. What would perhaps I give to a junior recruiter to do? We don't have that model at Redimere. We're all experienced recruiters. And now I'm thinking, well, these tools can just do it so quick that we just save a ton of time and a ton of sort of brain power thinking about it ourselves.
It would just be amazing if that was in your CRM, so that information was retained in your central point. I guess that's my frustration. We're going to talk about lots of different tools, but you're using a different tool from your core tool.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we're a small business, so the CRM is important. It's not as important as when I was running teams of 30 people and it was like the Bible, it's got to be on there. There's a bit of more sort of like people just do their own thing and update the CRM as and when, and we're probably losing some opportunities through that. But yeah, I agree. If it can be built into a CRM in one place, I know on the last week you were on the GEMS Talent Summit and they seem to have an interesting platform. I think some of the older CRMs may struggle due to legacy tech, and actually, like we've seen in other industries, legacy players that just struggle to implement new tech. And also there's an element of, you don't want to introduce too much into your CRM because it would take away from the core function of being a CRM, which is what they're selling you per month, per seat, or whatever it is. And again, that's the challenge that I think some legacy vendors will have, is that, they don't want to detract too much from what their core offering is and what you're getting invoiced for.
It's interesting, Rob, that you're using this tool. It looks like a candidate acquisition tool. So one of the problems you're trying to solve there is how quickly can I get to the candidates, right?
No, it doesn't. It does not candidate acquisition. So maybe it's a different tool. I saw in a couple of links in there. What, the Bloom tool? Yeah.
Well, it helps you find candidates, right?
Not really, no.
Well, hang on.
Can you put the link in the chat as well?
Doesn't it generate? Doesn't it like basically help you find basically help you do a job post, help you kind of? It's kind of acquisition is what I'm saying. It's not a sourcing tool, but it basically
it's not a sourcing tool. But it automates that process from I get a job on to getting it up on a post or getting my email written.
Yeah.
It automates the admin that I have to do for every job without this. So it's not actually helping me source people, but it's also helping me with my market intel when I'm talking to clients and giving them some feedback on where salaries have moved and things like that. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's a tool to help talent acquisition, but it's not sort of doing any of the sourcing or recommendations or anything like that.
Yeah, fair enough. And it wasn't an accusation either way. My focus was simply it's helping the delivery side of the business.
Yes,
right. So it's ultimately going to reduce the cost there. What is anybody doing on the client acquisition side? Because last year I was talking to every recruitment agency. It wasn't actually candidate acquisition. it was like, oh, I need more leads. All right, and like, what are we doing with AI to get more leads? So Neil, you got a dirty smile on your face. So presumably you want to say something.
I'm only smiling because I was actually, pushed when you talk about pushing to the right, the forefront of the technology's capability. I did at one point, I was programming my own LLM and feeding it, kind of trying to learn my brain into it. So it was like a toddler when I went to the Rec Expo, did the talk. And I remember going on the stage and calling my AI so that it could pitch me. And I was trying to sort of, and I think at one point we were using that to call clients to get leads, but I think I've since wound that back in a little bit, and I feel like it needs a bit more work. That's why I was grinning.
Right, hang on then. Hang on. No. Let's go there. So you had an automated outbound solution, and it didn't work. So tell us why it didn't work.
So it didn't. I was more scared about the bad calls and the impact of those, which will happen while it learns, right? So I can't download 20 years of recruitment pitching experience into an LLM I think at that time we'd been working on it for like 2-3 months, right? It's going to take a long time, and like a human, it needs to make mistakes and it needs to learn, and then you feedback. And I was a bit too scared about the mistakes that were required and the bad calls, because every lead is gold. So what was actually happening at that point was the AI in the back end was feeding data into that. So it was collecting information specific about that person it was going to call, the job, or whatever it had found, which was relevant to the pitch, feeding that into the AI, and the AI made a phone call. And it would say, hi, it's, I can't remember her name now, but it's not really relevant, right? So, and it would carry on. And it's actually objection handling as well, which was cool. That's what happened on the stage, right? So I said, no, I'm not interested. And then, it carries on from there. But I wound it back in because the market is such that it was a bit too risky to sort of burn leads at this time, because everyone knows what's going on in the market for the last couple of years, and it's not ready. The technology's not ready. It sounds a bit too AI. So that's what we were doing at the time. But I'm not saying I'm not going to go back there. I just think I need to work on it a bit.
I was with someone this week who's built an outbound sales voice bot, and right. it's bloody brilliant. And I am so anti those things. It's unbelievable. And I was literally blown away by it. I mean, I was pitching at it. We were having an argument. It was brilliant. It was absolutely superb. so that is definitely coming without doubt. I think we're a way yet to get it accurate, and I think we've got to be really careful with that. And as I say, every sales call to me is priceless. That's important. But I think what we've got to look at, if you look at a traditional sales funnel, or even a candidate acquisition funnel, I would say 80% of what we do in sales is sales administration. So it's about generating leads, it's about doing your research, it's about finding the right pitch, getting the right pain points, writing the outreach campaign, producing the emails to go out to them, and so it goes on and so it goes on. And the last bit, the bottom of the sales funnel, that 20% bit, is the really sexy bit around sales, which is all about let's put our arms around each other, sit around a boardroom, eye to eye, do some business together, that type of stuff. That 80% now, I think you can pretty much automate and use AI to do nearly all of that. That is amazing when you think about it, because I've got salespeople who traditionally were spending 4 out of 5 days a week doing administration. We've now got salespeople doing 1 day a week doing administration, 4 days a week doing the sexy bottom of the sales funnel stuff. And because obviously of all the automations, you can amplify it as well. Now, you've got to get it right. We've seen some brilliant examples of people completely screwing this up. And how I've described it, they're vomiting all over their prospect target database. With really bad automations and bad AI. Get it right, it's transformative, absolutely transformative. And then you suddenly end up now with these hyper productive, significantly effective salespeople. That is so exciting when you think about it.
I think. Sorry,
Neil.
I was just going to say, if you're not doing at this point in time mass automated, hyper personalized, emphasis on hyper personalization, and by that I do not mean grabbing your client's SEO metadata and feeding it, because that's what most of the AI actually does. So when you say craft me a message, or you tell it, look, this is the ideal message I'd like to be crafted, which is the right way to use AI, and give it an example of a good one or an email, it will just go and grab the metadata from that. And then, I mean, what company or what CEO of a founder of your target client wants you to feed back their own USP back to them? Because that's what it will do. It'll be like, I love the way you're doing blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, that's not a good message, right? So if you're not sort of doing, I think if you're not doing hyper-personalized automated outreach at scale, then you're missing a trick. when it comes to AI at this moment, like just what James was saying.
And Neil, we started creating these agents a couple of months ago that basically review every single outbound activity that's gone out to one of your clients, sales, telephone, whatever it might be, emails, etc. Analyzed it to identify what was it about it that worked and landed and what didn't land. Was it the length of the title, the type of the title? Was it how it's scripted, the format, the tone, etc.? And then every week it reports back to therefore say, well, based on that, you need to do more of that in your next one and less of that in the next one. So before, it's like having a live coach looking at everything you're doing all day long and going, I reckon I can do that 1% better tomorrow. We just can't afford to do that as businesses, but you can with AI.
Let me interrupt, James. You said, well, we built an agent, like casually. You just drop it in there. What do you mean built an agent? Like,
do you not build agents? Where have you been hanging out, mate? Cheapers. Oh, okay,
no.
Fine. So I went on a personal journey at the beginning of all this and just to try and get my head into AI. So I wanted to be able to go and build stuff. I looked at all sorts of different types of tools that you could play with. And I kept going back to two tools. I kept going back to ChatGPT and I kept going back to make.com. ChatGPT to do my stuff I wanted it to do, make.com to automate that process. And I spend my life, I have quite fun doing this, is looking at some of this new tech that's coming on the market. Some of it's amazing, by the way. But I look at some of the stuff that comes on the market and I look at it and go, actually, do you know what? I reckon I can sit at home tonight in front of the TV with a glass of wine. I'm not condoning drinking, but it does help a little bit. With a glass of wine, and I reckon I could recreate what that bit of tech does using make.com and ChatGPT. And I've done it time and time and time again. And it's really not that difficult. Now, if I can do that as a Muppet sitting in front of the TV, imagine what we'll all be able to do with proper developers in the next 6 to 12 months if we really go for it. And that's exciting.
All right. Quick commentary on the chat for everyone. Make.com. Are you aware of this website? Let me know in the chat. Have you used it? Is it the solution that James says it is? Let us know in the chat whether you're watching this or not. Make.com, by the way, is spelt as sound. So it looks like it's an automation tool. It seems that you should get cracking with it. All right, let's move swiftly on. I noticed the time on this. 2025, we're middle of the year. Where do we think recruitment agencies should be at the end of this year? And again, we're not talking about any shame, but there's going to be competitive advantage will accrue to organizations that can become more efficient. And over time, I'm sure there's still a few agencies out there doing amazingly well, doing all school, but that's going to just shrink in terms of their performance over time, given the speed that we're seeing with the speed gains we're getting from these companies. What's the absolute baseline that a competent recruitment agency should be doing going into next year? Like, what kind of elements of their business should be automated or at least significantly augmented by artificial intelligence? Any thoughts on this? Rob, let's go to you, mate. I mean, maybe this is actually a live thing for Edemy right now. So where do you want to take your business in 6 months' time?
Yeah, so I think for us, we don't do a ton of outreach, and I know some agencies will claim that, but we generally don't. We get a lot through referral and different networks we've partnered with to establish credibility really, really quickly. So I'm really cautious about using it for outbound activity, although I totally understand there's a good reason for it with other companies. I think as a baseline, if you're not using a note taker in your meetings, and I know agencies who aren't, I mean, that is just such a quick win for your recruiters to be present in the conversation, to listen, to ask good questions. And they're amazing now, these note takers. I mean, MetaView, I'm sure everyone has heard of it. If you're not using it, I think it's a no-brainer. There's probably other ones available. So I think as a minimum, you've got to be having that. Great for report writing. And then I think that the next thing that will be coming down the line is actually understanding beyond skills matching. And I think this is a big thing that I've seen with a lot of AI tools on the candidate sourcing, which is our big challenge. A lot of them will skill match, and a lot of them look for keywords, and a lot of them look for, what's written on a CV. Now, two issues with that. Skills aren't a guarantee that that person's going to be actually any good in that job. Maybe they're very good at that skill, but actually, can they do it in the environment that you're hiring for? So I think we're looking at tools that will bring context and enrichment to candidate CVs or profiles online that will give you as a recruiter the context of whether that person's going to be successful in that job you're hiring for. And that's the big difference. Because again, think what a great recruiter does. They look at a CV or a profile and they make tons of little connections in their head. Oh, he worked at that company. He must have worked with that boss. I know that boss. They were really good. They did that big project. That's what great recruiters do, is have all this memory that they can connect and make those connections and understand why that person might be a good match for their new client or for the role they're hiring for now. So that's where I'd like to see the technology moving beyond keyword, beyond skill matching, is actually understanding more context around the candidate's background. And I think if that's the way it goes, that's where I think agencies could see a significant uplift in terms of time spent talking to the right people, because skill matching is great. You've still got to talk to them and vet them, and still got to do that initial call to sound them out and make sure they're, a suitable person. So that's where I'd like to see it be going by the end of this year.
Yeah, very good, Rob. Thank you. How about you, Neil? Where do you see baseline recruitment agency 2026 going into? Where have they got to be in terms of their overall tech stack, so to say?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard for me to go baseline because obviously I want to do everything with it. But I'll try to think about. So I'll address most of the market. I believe is your sort of small agencies or solopreneur agencies. So I think those people should have most of the heavy lifting being done. So I'm talking about outreach, candidate and client, formatting CVs, basic sourcing, and sort of information gathering sort of around the marketplace and stuff to make it relevant for your clients and your jobs. So I think those are the things I can think of you should be doing, like by the end of the year. Get yourself very up to speed on those things. These are the basic stuff to get the best out of AI. And then if you kind of supplement that with formatting CVs, updating records as well, and keeping the pipelines clean so you can have focused conversations. Those are kind of my top tips in terms of, I tried to keep it simple. Sorry, that sounded like a lot, didn't it?
No, we need like simple commentary here. So right. Fantastic.
Okay. And then now in terms of what I want it to do, moving forward, I think what we're missing here is when software is being built around AI, there's a lot of assumptions being made in the logic layer, right? So somebody's programming it and saying, this is how I'm prompting you to do X, Y, Z, and then we use the software, we put the data in, and it carries on. I do think that it's like I was saying earlier, everybody's got their own little ways of doing things. Everyone's got their ways of getting results, and the AI needs to be learning based on the person, not utilizing someone else's logic that's predetermined and then we feed into it. And that's why I think you get this mixture of outcomes and mixture of results. So I would either like something like that, or I would like an AI assistant that can just do everything properly under one roof. So I'm talking from resourcing to BD and admin, not just a tool for each task, which I feel like is what's out there at the moment. It's like cherry picking here and then stitching stuff together. It should really be kind of like I think James is saying, an agent. It should be your EA rather than a VA for specific kind of cut up tasks. That's what I think.
Maybe that's the direction of travel products like Hired would need to get into, essentially become exactly that. So I think technology will improve, though. We're seeing it move so fast. I mean, I'm pretty certain we're going to be probably casually accepting some magical solution in 6 months' time, when we're totally forgetting the fact that it is actually pretty magical. James, let's take it from a different view from your side, because you've got the TRN group. So I'm sure probably one of your things is, how do we make them all better as businesses? Where would you like to see the baseline of your community in terms of AI usage coming into 2026?
I just put a list in the chat of everything in that chat. If you're doing that with a human in the end of this year, then I think you missed the whole point of what this is all about. I think I would say 50% of what a recruiter did this time last year will be gone this time next year. They just don't need to be doing it anymore. And I think that is really, really exciting. The tech that you use is sort of hypothetical. If you're a solopreneur, you're working on your own, you've got a bit of agility, you can build stuff in your pocket, all that type of thing. It's not that complicated, and you can buy in some stuff. If you're a big business, you need an enterprise strategy, which means you want less people playing with stuff in their pockets. It sounds a bit weird. Less people playing with stuff in their pockets, but more of an enterprise strategy across the business that sits at the heart of one central source of data and truth, which is generally your CRM system or your platform that you're going to use. But everything else is obsolete. And I know businesses now who are recruitment companies who are probably half the size they were 18 months ago, 2 years ago. They're making more profit, more contribution, making more deals than they've ever done before. And they're using tech to supplement and support that.
James, that massive list you've got, are you working with any agencies who are doing all that?
Yeah.
And how many different products are they using to do all that?
Again, not that many. They're being really particular and really deliberate with their tech stack, and they're really mapping that out. But if you look at most of that stuff, again, I go back into, like, you're going to laugh at me, apologies, but you go back into half of that stuff you can do yourself using ChatGPT and an automation tool like Zapier or Make.com or anything else. So, you know, market mapping, predictive analytics, I can scrape jobs, I can scrape websites, I can scrape all sorts of places, I can get all my emails personalized, I can create leads. And at top of your sales funnel, you should have at least 30 or 40 lead generation agents just sitting there every day sending you an email with, did you know this trigger's about to cause a new hiring opportunity in this client, or this person's probably going to leave based on what they did. That's all available now to us to create using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is that you use from an AI perspective. So I think a lot of that stuff is going. This is why it's such a massive shift. To Hung, your point you said earlier about is it the speed of stuff that's coming down the pipe that's actually slowing people down using it? I think the biggest challenge we've got is that we've got so many people who are playing with it individually. So lots and lots of individuals within a business have all got ChatGPT or whatever version it is, and they're playing with it on themselves and trying to come up with stuff. And it's not an enterprise strategy. So you end up with lots of random things going. 95% of the people I've spoken to, who, when you ask them, how do you use ChatGPT, they don't know how to use it properly. They haven't cloned themselves. They haven't got the paid version anyway. They've got the free version, which is rubbish. They don't know there's actually about 11 different types of GPTs that you could use. They suddenly just found out there's deep insights and like the stuff you can produce on the deep insight stuff and the deep research. I mean, there's so many things to this that people are just so immune to. Just start there.
Yeah, and I think it is a little bit about the pressure that agencies generally and recruiters generally, because obviously we're always maxed out. There's never a spare moment. And when you've got targets to hit and what have you, the pressure might be, every second needs to be doing more work. And it may feel that stepping away and creating the time to do research and play around and stuff like this, it may feel that that's like non-productive, but I think that's the price you've got to pay to do it. Okay, we've got to move on, folks. I want to bring on Ivan. I want to see if Angela wants to come on as well. So let's say thank you to Rob, thank you to Neil, thank you to James. Great to hear your perspective, everybody. We'll keep an eye on what you're doing.
Thanks for having us,
guys.
Updated. Thank you.
Let us know how you're getting on.
I'm going off to the nightclub now.
Perfect.
He's in a nightclub back room.
He's not in his office at all. He's at a nightclub.
Never leaves it.
I found that really valuable, Hung, and I think they're getting some real examples in the chat. Loads of people have been sharing that, and you could after the show, if you wanted to, Hung, is download the chat, run it through ChatGPT, and get it to produce a little blog post with all the links in it.
I would have no interest in doing that.
Hung, I'll do it. I'll download your chat and make it into a blog post, because there's some really and people are repeating the same ideas as well, and I think that's interesting to see which were the overarching thoughts in the chat.
What are your thoughts on all of this? So basically, we've heard that reason why maybe agencies are not adopting AI as fast as perhaps everyone might think is it's interrupting workflow. So maybe some of the tools out there are just changing everything. We don't want that. We have a process. We would just want to get faster. So maybe this is where the point solutions are actually something that's always going to be the case. Secondly, time, like capacity. Agencies don't have time, and we're all under pressure. James is the boss. He can take his glass of wine and chill out. No one's getting on his case on that. But you can imagine some of his underlings will be under pressure to do various things. So we've got that aspect. What else? I don't know. I mean, let's speak to Ivan. Maybe Ivan's got a view on this. Ivan, wonderful to see you as usual. Thanks for being patient. Ivan, for the folks who don't know you, why don't you quickly intro yourself? Who are you? What it is you do?
Yes, I'm working in recruitment for the last 10 years. Prior, I was a programmer for 5 years, so I consider myself qualified to speak on this topic of AI and recruitment. And 3 things that AI still cannot do. Find jobs on resumes. We dropped in tens of resumes and said, okay, please show me if these people have job gaps. It doesn't work. First example. Second example. Again, we drop in 50 resumes and tell, okay, show me the ones where the person works but they study at the same time. Typical like junior engineers. So, they are still studying. We can't offer them a real job because they are still students. Third example, dear ChatGPT, if you generate a job description for Switzerland, please do not use the German standard S. This is how it looks. This is the German standard S. Please use double S, like two normal S, like you have on every American or regular keyboard. So 3 examples where AI still fails if you really go into the depth of things, right? And this worries me a lot, right? That we are like in a phase. It reminds me a little bit when Siri was first introduced. Everybody was super hyped about it. Wow, this is great. Everybody was talking about Siri, but very few people were actually using it. Why? Because if a thing fails 2 out of 3 times, or even like 1 out of 10 times, then people will stop using it because they get frustrated. And it's the same with us. We are a recruitment agency operating for 10 years, and we built our own tools. So to include AI was fairly trivial. We just included, what we needed, right? But still we get super frustrated because we can't have simple things answered, like gaps on resumes, if somebody is studying while they're working, things you would think that, just give me a correct answer in each instance, right? This is why I want you to support me, dear computer. And if you don't have this figured out, then I wonder if this is a little bit, let's say, hyped. AI note-taking was also mentioned today like 5 times. Funnily enough, today in the morning, I finally canceled my AI note-taking helper tool because I asked my team, guys, are you actually reading this? And they said, no, nobody reads the AI note-taker things. I tell you, my team very often doesn't even read if I post something in Slack. I have to repeat it as a founder and like manager on audio, on our meetings. So if somebody, doesn't even read, usually people need repetition, right? And if they see, okay, AI note taker, they will just, blank and they will not take this seriously. So things need to come from a human in the end. And that is why I believe the recruiters who, use the phone a lot, do not get distracted. Hung mentioned this like 3 times, that we used to get distracted with like manual data entry. And I would argue we are distracted now more than ever with all these fancy tools. And we treat it as like bike shedding, right? Like we need to like build a nuclear power plant. And because it's easier, we plan like, where we put the bicycle parking, instead of thinking about how to build a nuclear power plant. This is the definition of bike shedding. And this is what people are doing in recruitment agencies and generally in recruitment. They don't do the actual work, which is going on the phone and building relationships. This sounds like very saying washed out saying, but it's the actual truth. You have to talk to people the whole day, then you will make placements, be it as an internal or external recruiter.
Okay, thank you for your monologue, Ivan. Always thrilling to get the Ivan experience. This is amazing. I think you made a bunch of really interesting points in amongst all of this. So firstly, I think the human relationship development, I'm kind of developing a theory that AI is useful when you don't care about making a relationship. In other words, it's great when I literally don't care about the relationship. It's not a relationship. I'm just like getting rid of this thing. So you use AI. But when you are in a relationship or you're trying to get into a relationship, any introduction of AI is problematic. So I'm just thinking about your personal relationships, for instance. If you had your partner and you passed every single message through AI, and then it was later discovered that was what you were doing, I would assume you're going to have a problem in that relationship fairly quickly.
I don't know. I don't know, Hung. What happens if it improves your relationship? What happens if you learnt something off the back of all those interactions?
I don't mean learning. I don't mean self-teaching. I mean using it in dialogue. So let's say your husband, you discovered down the road, actually was using AI for the last 18 months or something in the text to you. I'd be outraged, wouldn't I? I mean, I'd just think, hang on, I thought that was you. But
Oh, I
no.
see. Yeah. So if you're using some sort of chatbot instead of yourself to engage with your partner, it's
Correct.
false. It's false. And
you put your partner on a drip campaign or something.
yes, yeah. Although I like that idea, but I think that that's a different to a candidate client hiring relationship. I think there's more transparency in that relationship. That
I don't know. I think
No,
ultimately
maybe.
the good relationships are made. I think when you
Oh, true
introduce
that.
AI, you introduce AI to an established relationship we've made pre-AI. I think it becomes destructive. So anyway, I'm just developing this theory. Is that ultimately AI is great for scale when the relationship commitment is very low and you're just trying to hit the quantity. It's like, okay, great. You can up level your chat to a certain degree, but you're never going to sort of build depth of relationship with any of those people because it has to be some sort of authentic interaction. Now, Ivan is talking about the phone. I disagree with the mechanism of the phone, but the concept of having that real-time synchronous human dialogue, I think I would totally agree with. It has to be sort of in the moment. It can't be used with like random tools, and it can't be like asynchronous. I think asynchronous is ultimately going to bleed down a relationship, kind of, I think.
I think, hundreds at this point. We lost revenue in the hundreds of thousands because we were like, oh, let's make this a text message. You know what? Like, seriously, I'm not even kidding. I personally did this mistake too often, that I was too lazy. That, like, for example, hey, how is it going in the probation period? Yes, all good. But if you go on the call with the person, they say, well, you know what? I'm annoyed by this and this and this. And if you would have known this, you could have saved the work relationship just in time. Also, I think at this point, you would not have, like, I can tell within like 3 nanoseconds if a text is generated with AI. So honestly, like, we are in a moment where this stuff is not that fantastic. And and again, I talked about very simple stuff, like reading if on a resume there is a gap. We cannot do this. Like, we have still many things to do, especially in the depth of things, right? Again, you have to build software so that it does one thing extremely well. You cannot just build like, oh, here is this AI recruiter. It does 500 things, but like if you check one thing, like do they do this one thing consistently well? And it does a mistake in 1 out of 100 times, you will default back to somebody who actually does it manually. Because like you can't trust this thing, right? You can't, like, we had somebody say this before, like, oh, do you use it for business development? Well, I made this prototype, but then I was scared to use it. Well, like, why do you waste this time? Why did you waste this time like doing the prototype if you don't use it in the end? It's like, you should have watch TV in the meantime, right? Because you either use the thing that you built and it does one thing really well, or you don't do.
I think you're right in terms of the trust level. Like the trust of AI is probably where it stops me as well a little bit. Like there's lots of things I can't allow it to do, like monitoring my emails and sending emails on my behalf and stuff like this. I think that's probably what a lot of people will end up doing. I can't get myself to do that.
No, and I've seen bad examples of that at the expo. Someone was talking about somebody who's really well known in this space who is using something like that with their LinkedIn outreach, and everyone was talking about it in such a negative way that it had spread far and wide because it wasn't even outreach; it was responding to messages coming in on LinkedIn. So things like, have you got time for a chat next Wednesday? If you sent me that on LinkedIn, Hung, I send you a note back saying, yeah, cool. And it was sending back out of context responses. It was so obvious, like you say, Ivan, it was so obvious.
I think there's an angle going forward here is that how do you create authenticity? And I think Stephen Bartlett mentioned this. And I think he's right. It's like the more mistakes you make, actually the more authentic it's going to be, because people read it as the signal of a human being actually doing it. And obviously, at some point, AI, you're going to tell AI, hey, please misspell this word. Please at least misspell one word in everything you say. And then that will become a pattern. Yeah, absolutely. What is that called, by the way, the double S in German?
It's sharp. It's a scharfes S, which means sharp S. I'm not exactly know what's the English word, but literally we wrote Python code which says string replace this with a double S, which is common in Switzerland, And you have countless of these examples, right? Where it's just not doing the, so it does 99%, but that doesn't do the 1% that you actually need so that people can tell, oh, this is an authentic message, right? And this destroys the whole thing. But then you can just stay with the, let's say, old way of doing things, which is just like, calling people. Let's put it that way. There's no alternative yet, right? Hang, you said it yourself. You disagree with the phone, and then you said synchronous conversation is the only way how these things can work. But then we only have the phone. If you have like another tool that you know, then let me know. But like, unfortunately, it's how it is.
Yeah, I get you. I mean, phone, I guess for me, a little bit more like video is instant. But I totally understand what you mean. It's the content, the idea is relationships are built in sync in real time. I think anthropologically, we haven't exposed that enough, but I believe that's the case. Okay, Ivan, listen, you've hammered AI and you've hammered tooling, which is very welcome. But let's kind of get your view as to where you think it can be useful 6 months down the line. Same question to the other guys who are on the screen. Like, where do you want to see your business in terms of optimizing the usage from 2026 onwards?
So the two most used where I heard people, this is really like, proper use of AI is lawyer text redlining. So you have a big lawyer contract, 200 pages, and then you say to AI, okay, where is the critical parts in regards of this other document? So lawyer texts, they are like code. It's like programming code. If you look at actual lawyer texts, that's why it works that well. So it can tell you, okay, in this page 55, it says about the water damage is $50,000, and it's probably paid by either the landlord or the tenant, and it's likely the tenant. So the lawyer can actually look at the page 55 immediately without searching. So that's number one. Number two is code. Because of the similarities, it works pretty well here too. In regards of recruitment, where are the applications where it's like similar? Hard to say, very hard to say. I would love it to work more on resumes, on actual resumes. So we have a base of the phone call, which is not the resume, but a really, 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 really good summary. Are there job gaps? And is the person a student or not in parallel? If I would see this, I would already be very happy. It's a very simple demand, right? It's very concrete. Yet there is no one who can solve it. Actually, if somebody mails me after this, I will pay you money for that. The sum I have to think about who solved this with AI, these two very simple problems. Thank you so much. Where I want to see AI going in my business, I don't know, really that the technology develops even further on extremely concrete problems.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Ivan Galenko, thank you so much. The link is there. Obviously, he's a must-follow person on LinkedIn and also on X. Telling it as it is, as always, Ivan. Great to see you, man. Cool. Wow. Very, very interesting. We're kind of out of time, Louise, but there's more to say, isn't there? There's so much more to say. What's your general vibe on this, though? Like, it seems we've come away from this thinking, look, AI is great, but it's not going to do everything. Probably James has had the most optimistic perspective in the sense of significant sort of things.
Yeah, that list.
Where do you see it generally landing for recruitment agencies?
I love that TRM members are doing what James is saying they're doing. That is absolutely amazing. I think that is more than lots and lots of recruiters can do. I still strongly believe, as I know you do too, that the human in this process cannot move away from that. I don't like to hear James say that people are cutting their workforce by half. That actually makes me sad. I know why. I know what the upshot is. I would like to see AI much better at matching. So I want to see that matching because I work with job boards as well. I'd like to see that matching be more successful and also retraining staff. So what we talked about when you record a call, instead of completely ignoring that call, saying, based on historical evidence, how could I have closed this better? What was the words I used wrong? What language could I have used? And the tool I want to see is where it works in real time with you. So you're on a call with a client, all this analysis has taken place in the past, and it says to you things like, don't forget to mention the blah, or, pick up on the thing they just said, or probe them more about this. That's what I want to see.
That's the ultimate CRM. The ultimate CRM is this. We don't actually want reams of stuff. I am sensitive to what Ivan said about, producing lots of like notes is great, but you're not going to read it because it's just too much. But you just need on the moment, like I just need 3 things that's happened in this person's life that I need to know about. Just don't say this, say that. And I made a mistake earlier today. Like I met somebody for lunch, a friend of mine. I knew she was divorced recently, but I didn't. It was not in my brain at the time, and I mentioned something bad, and not bad, but it was, mentioned the husband, etc. And it was like, oh my God, it was one of those like bad. It wasn't a bad moment, but obviously you don't introduce that unintentionally.
But that on a sales call. So instead of saying something like, "Well, I know you worked with us 6 months ago," when 6 months ago it was a hideous experience, don't mention that. That's the sort of thing. It can be small things. I really want to see that. And when they build that, I think we'll all be a lot more successful. And it's not cheating.
No, and it's a 30-second, I can imagine a 30-second or a 60-second pep talk before a call.
Yes.
And someone comes in and say, okay, Lou, do this, and this. By the way, that's the sort of thing we need.
And all right, an electric shock if you do it wrong.
Yeah, motivation. All right, we've got to let it go because it's now past 3 o'clock. Thank you very much, Louise. Great to see you. When are we going to see you again? Hopefully soon. There's loads of events happening.
In person. RecFest in person, doing the workshop stage.
Definitely will be
then
there.
The Agency Expo in October, Job Boards Connect in October, and anything else I'm invited to. More or less anything else.
Are you going to the CIPD Festival of Work? Do you know about this?
Yes, I don't know whether I am going. I might try. Are you going to be there?
I'm going to go. Yeah, I've never been, so I'm going to just literally go and have a look at what the HR side of things are going. So,
all right. Well, I might see you there then.
All right. Well, listen, you have a good weekend. I'll see you later.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, everyone. I think my Crowdcast has crashed, by the way, because I can't see the chat and I can't see what's going on. But I believe that probably we're all leaving the show. So thank you for watching. It's been a really interesting conversation. We're going to keep talking about automation. We're going to keep talking about agencies, actually. So all of this is going to be happening. I'm going to be doing another show next week on a very similar theme. How are recruitment agencies moving beyond automation? This is happening actually midweek with our friends at POP. So I'm going to just share a link down there. I'm going to ping it over there. Make sure you sign up to this. Basically, we've got to keep the conversation rolling. This is a moving target, and we've all got to move with it. Okay, folks, that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll speak to you next week. Next week on Friday, I think we're talking about where the VC money is going in work tech. Is it a signal that we need to be paying attention to? Is it going towards sourcing? Is it going towards optimization of assessments? Is it going somewhere else? We've got George LaRocque and Madeline Lorano joining us for that forensic breakdown of where venture capital is going in recruitment technology. You got to watch it, folks. I'll see you next week, okay?